And suddenly, this looks a lot closer than the other one. Everybody cast off 3/4. Scoot back. Yeah, you see, they had to start looking and groping for each other. And did you notice that they shrunk it a little bit as they did the scoot back and brought it back together? So what you have to be prepared for in doing that scoot back after the fan the top that we did, boys run around the girls. Bend the line. Pass through. You turn back. Box the net. Fan the top to the box of 4 for the grouping to work the call, and that's coming out of working something where they're working with this group. Now they had to reorient to come this way. So they may lose it on the scoot back, even though it's a simple call they normally have a lot of success with. Suddenly the choreography that preceded it didn't lend itself for as great a success. There's nothing wrong with it, and it can be good variety in doing the commands and doesn't leave you off much. I mean, all you've done is swung half. Okay, and to get a swing through a call and have the guys trade, boys trade, yeah. And see, all you've done is swing through at that point. So what that does is give you some variety and changes how they orient the formation, but you may also see reduced dancer success, what you normally associate with a scoot back. Okay, so that would be a choice at that point in time. Yeah. Okay, well, the example that I showed earlier is a very good one. Boys run around the girls. Bend the line. Pass through. Wheel and deal. Now, the breathing naturally occurs on a lot of our calls. This is what happened here. We were in a line of 4. We did a wheel and deal, and turned, it changed. We were in lines this way, so the 4 spots were going this way. We did the wheel and deal, and now the 4 spots are going this way. It rotated the axis. We took a picture there. Yeah. And that's an example. Double pass-through. But watch what happens when we do this. Everybody put centers in. Do you turn back? Now, a place where the breathing should occur here is realize that we shouldn't have these lines this far apart. We need to bring things back together again. Bring the lines forward a little bit. That should be your natural response, is that it's not just a mechanical movement. There is a vitality to the dance where we keep on moving and flowing, and it should always gravitate back to the original spots of the matrix, okay? And so there's an instance where we simply do the centers in and you turn back, but you need to bring the lines together. It defaults to the dancer. They start to realize that. So when you first do that kind of sequence there of events, remind them, bring the lines up there together. Don't just wait till I call up to the middle and back. Let them start to be responsible for themselves on the floor. Star through. Peel off. And that was away from center. And look where I feel like Moses. Bring the lines together, right? See, that should be the natural reaction. Breathe it in, okay? Because the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to work with those people ahead of you. Why add to the distance to get to them, okay? And so there's possible. Does that answer? Yeah, give you some ideas. Pass through, wheel and deal. Here's the first one you'll even encounter. Boys square through 3, not the square through 3, but split the girls round 1 and make a line. Hello. Fill in that gap. There's the breathing that should occur. It's the natural adjustment. Yeah. Well, again, that'll be judgment in how you are in the hall. I don't think they're abnormally close here. It should be, it should be comfortable to reach the person in front of you to do the call. If you have to take steps towards each other, then you're artificially adding distance. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You mean on that? Oh, the touchy quarter and the scoot back. Yeah. That's right. There's a tendency to want to do this, and so we're losing some of that. At the same time, though, you've also seen the reality of the lines being so far apart that they lose the next command simply because they can't find the other people to work with. Yeah. And so It only helps dancer success by reminding them to be able to come back in and hold the spots. And plus, you don't start getting what we too many times do, which is going to be kind of an anomaly when I show you what I'm going to be workshopping here, but there are very few calls that are spot-oriented. Most of the calls are dynamics, like we showed you, that keep rotating the axes and so forth. Pass through. Bend the line. Now, that was a shape changer. Yeah, it's still a line of 4, but the shape change I just talked about was the matrix went from this away to that away, okay? And so that's not spot-oriented at all. Actually, very few calls are spot-oriented, but we got one big one that we do all the time, and that's circulate. Circulate goes to footprints, okay? And all the circulate family-related ones all across the level are all footprint-oriented. And so what happens is that when we use that for a lot of position dancing, people start associating that everything is footprint-oriented. Really, very little is footprint-oriented. It's more dynamic like this. And so we get people looking for spots on the floor to go to, and that's where they get led astray. We really distract them, you know. And so we need to point out how this breathing works first, and then point out the exceptions that work towards footprints, okay? And once you get square, you set to go back home so I can start to get an idea of what this is. I didn't look at the square at all before I started. Well, you will a few times now. And owing to that, at the same time, Circulate is probably one of the most interesting tools for adding variety to your dance, and it's a mainstream call. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you're able to do with Circulates that can do many, many things for you, and that's the kind of thing that you can utilize to add variety to your calling, and at the same time make lots of things available for yourself. All the heads, square through 4. Yeah, all 4. Step to a wave. Now, we do know the basic Circulate premise. All Circulates, no matter what they are, whether they're different types of Circulates on the different levels and so forth, all of them have in common the idea that if you're an in-facer to the group, you walk to the next plane. We have 2 planes, this one and that one. So in-facers walk to the next plane, out-facers trade to the other side, but they stay on the same plane, okay? They all have that in common. All 8 circulate. You notice all the in-facers came across, all 8, dear. That's good. And we have the out-facers that did the trading action. Also keep in mind that Circulates from any kind of line setup are concentric by their nature. That is, ends stay ends and centers stay centers, and we never lose that identity, okay? But what we can do with Circulates, by simply adding one little thing, leads us in a variety of setups. Everybody recycle, please. Sweep a quarter. Notice that we can also circulate from a position like this. Before, when we were in ocean waves, if we called an all 8 circulate, there were people following each other. This is a case where we can also do all 8 circulate by passing people as well as following. From here, all 8 circulate. We just simply pass through the people, and that moves you to spots. And it doesn't seem like, well, why the heck didn't I call pass through? Well, it's because of what it can provide for me in the future with different setups. Everybody partner trade. That's good. Everybody pass the ocean. All the girls walk and dodge. Good. No. Walk and dodge. That's good. From here, all 8 circulate, and the girls go halfway more. Yep. And so halfway more girls, no, dear, you would normally walk straight ahead. Halfway more, you make the wave in the middle. Now let me show you something vital that has to happen here. The end girl has slid out between the guys. Wrong. Girls, you're centers forever, okay? So girls, you can't force it to be any more center than you are. Fellas, you have to expand and breathe out in order to allow the girls to be centers. So fellas, make sure you slide out to the left a little bit, okay? Yeah, you theoretically had gone to a spot, but that spot's got to increase in size because the girls can't lose their identity as a center. They're centers right now. They'll stay centers, okay? Girls, do me a favor and recycle. And now we're back in the lines of 4 again, which means the boys had to breathe back in to make sure they're back in the lines. That's something that happens on the calls to allow people to be centers. Centers get the option of being as big as they're necessary in order to retain the identity as centers. If the centers are in a box of 4 when we start, then that's how big you have to allow the room to be. If they change their formation to an ocean wave, then you have to allow them enough space to still be centers. One of the girls didn't lose her identity and creep out and become an end. It means, guys, you got to slide outwards to allow them the room. And that's the dynamic that's part of the square. No, that's not the same place, okay? Now, girls, do me a favor and just circulate. Okay? Good. Now, girls, uncirculate. Go back where you just came from, okay? What happened when you circulated there? Actually, by Jimmy Davis towards the end of his career, which could be responsible for why. Anyway, girls, when you did your circulate, what happened was you passed that girl right shoulders. Why? Because you were on the same track and about to collide. And anytime you're on the same track as another dancer and about to collide, you pass them right shoulders. If we ask you to do half of that point, then basically we're stopping the video cameras at the halfway point. That's when you were passing right shoulders, and that's why you ended up assuming right hands, okay? Now, there's a different rule that's called the right hand rule that is a very specific thing that happens on very rare occasions where people go to the same spot. If people go to the same spot, instead of standing there and fighting with each other, you take right hands. But that happens very, very rarely. This is an occasion, the reason you got right hands is because that's where we stopped the cameras in mid-action, and not because you went to the same spot, okay? Now, so there is a situation here where we asked the girls to do, girls, go ahead and do your half a circulate like we had you do before. That made you in the wave. All the girls spin the top, and suddenly we're in diamonds, and it set up diamonds very nicely just with that half circulate action, okay? Everybody flip the diamond. Good. Flip. I have problems with extend from a facing situation because that, to me, is not a tag existent formation. I don't consider that zero tag is a real tag formation. I consider that you have to be in a tag-like formation in order to extend the tag, or extend, and that there is no zero extend formation, and therefore I don't consider that a legitimate spot to do extend from. One place that we can do interesting things with just a half circulate from the normal circulate pattern that you got. Girls, do me a favor and circulate 1.5 around the outside. Boys, cast off 3. And suddenly you got one of the very unused but most useful situations, particularly if your dancers know diamonds, okay? Because we have a whole slew of identifiable diamonds in this setup. The wave of 6 people do a grand swing through. Go right and left. So girls, you have a diamond that's in the middle, don't you? Girls, diamond circulate. That's good. The wave of 6 dancers, grand swing through. Go right and go left. Well, girls wave at each other. You have a facing diamond, right? All the girls do a diamond circulate. That's good. There's a diamond in the middle. You see that diamond, right? The center diamond. Diamond circulate. Good. All the girls swing through. I have a wealth of things I can do from here. Center 2 girls, cast off 3/4. You 4 recycle. The others bend the line. And things look nice and normal looking. We have a lot of things you can do with something that you just simply set up with just simply a half circulate. Center 4 pass through. Since we're walking, just veer to the left. I know there's no flow that way, but all the couples circulate, and the boys go halfway more. Good. Boys around the outside, you got a great big diamond. Remember, you were ends, you're still ends. Boys in the great big diamond, diamond circulate. Girls cast off 3. That's good. There's a diamond in the middle. Do you see that? The diamond in the middle, diamond circulate. Just go to his spot. That's good. Yeah, there you are. Good. All the girls do a diamond circulate. See how you can identify anything from this wave of 6 and 2 lonesome people, and there's a variety of setups available. Center 2 boys cast off 3/4, the outsides hinge, and that girl turn back. In the 2-face line in the middle, bend the line. You 4 star through in the middle, and you're looking at the outside too. Good. So we have a variety of ways to resolve into stuff that's very identifiable. You've done very intricate things, and yet you really haven't used a lot of vocabulary. It's just you've made a lot of positions available. And that's just simply with the half circulate as an option. And it's taking circulate and doing things with it that suddenly becomes very viable. And you can add a lot of imagination to your dance, a lot of variety to what you're doing, and at the same time, you don't have to feel like you got to add a new call to the repertoire in order to entertain the dancer. You can find new positions to do the calls and vocabulary they've already learned. Slide through. Touch a quarter. Here's the column circulates. Column circulates kind of violate one rule in that they don't stay concentric. They're a different animal than wave and line circulates. All 8 circulate once and a half. And so we got all kinds of things we can play around with here. Let's try this. Girls trade and spread apart. No, he didn't say row. He just said trade and spread apart. Now there you go. That's it. Boys, you got a diamond, don't you? All the boys in your diamond circulate. All the boys in your diamond flip the diamond. No, just the boys. Remember, we didn't talk to those people with the funny clothes on. Everybody's got a diamond. Everybody do a diamond circulate. No, where's your diamond? Good. Everybody flip the diamond. Boys flip in there and the girls move up. Yeah. Move up to the end here. That's good. And so here's ocean waves. And so it was a way of quickly doing things, and it all revolved around doing the circulate 1 1/2. Boys run around the girls. Bend the line, touch a quarter, just so you don't assume that circulate 1 1/2 will always mess around and give you diamonds. We can do other things. All 8 circulate once and a half. Good. The center 6 people trade and roll. We got lines of 3, and we can do all kinds of things. Now you think, well, lines of 3 probably aren't really useful. Well, if you don't like it, the other boy face in, everybody join hands, circle to the left. That's it, yeah. Yeah. Don't, just stop, yeah. Don't underestimate the power of the circle as a resolved destination. You know, we always get into the idea that we want to face the corner, do an element left, or get a partner into a right and left grand. But there are 2 other very legitimate solutions that can resolve a square. And one is a circle. Work your way into a circle, and suddenly you're back in the ballgame again. Even squares that broke down, you can pick back up again because they can always circle left. But even if they're a bit shaky on where they are at that point in time, putting them into the circle gives them a very recognizable destination, and you can work from there. We talked about an idea earlier on something else. Let the head start through and spread, please. Good. Pass through and wheel and deal. Remember, spread always end up making the line. That's good. So all the girls square through 3. Now, we talked about, watch what happens, star through. Now, this is the two-faced line that many times the people lose for us. The way we can force the issue to touch the hands there is to have the boys trade. Don't do that. The other way that cops out is everybody promenade. And you can move right into that. Don't stop, keep walking, heads wheel around. That's good. Pass through, wheel and deal. Good. Zoom. Squirt, no, pass through. Element left. Yeah. Yeah, I think it is. Promenade home. Yeah. Home. Yeah, yeah. We were temporarily in a different position, but yeah, that's just to give you an idea that you can also use different destinations other than just element left and right left grand as a resolve for the square. And that little bit of variety can really, particularly if you've got a floor that's clinging to the sequence by the edge of their teeth there, that just, you can really find a way to keep them dancing, keep them moving while you go ahead and sort things out. All the heads pair off. Step in the middle and face your corner. That's good. So, circulate 1 1/2 can provide you with a variety of things. Everybody swing through. Good. All 8 circulate, and the boys go halfway more. And the boys have got a little dive in the middle, and the girls, you got a box formation around the outside. There's all kinds of things we can do here. All the boys in your diamond flip the diamond. Good. And we got regular diamonds, don't we? Everybody do a diamond circulate. Good. Girls cast off 3. And here we got a wave. Trade the wave. Turn around. There you go. Good. And so we have a lot of options that we can do just by simply using circulate 1 1/2. Now, the thing is that I could have set this up just as easily by having everybody hinge, please. Good. And all 8 circulate, and go ahead, all 8 circulate, and the centers go halfway more. Now, did you notice how rough things started to get here when I started identifying people by centers and ends as opposed to boys and girls? Yeah. It also then, I have to say, where is the center diamond, and identify that. And so I set that up so that I could identify it by sex as opposed to by location, okay? And so I maximized the dancer's success there. The center 2 boys hinge, and the 2-face line in the middle do a wheel and deal, and the others face in, and you should be fairly good. In the middle, pass through, and we're all looking at same sex. Good. Swing through. Good. From here, all 8 circulate, go once and a half. And we got somebody by the right hand, don't we? See, you're an end, so you had to remain an end. So you move to the outside of it, right? And we have a dar set up and all kinds of things available. We can option for a dar here. We could also keep the spacing that you guys have made, which is correct at this point. Girls were out-facers. They have an outermost track over the in-facers, which were the boys. So we can have the boys spin the top. And suddenly we have a nice tidal wave set up. But we could have also just as easily as opted for the girls to move in closer and worked with the dar setup that we created there. Okay? Let me show you what we could do with the dar setup there. Boys, spin the top again. Girls slide in, and we have a dar setup. You see it? That's good. Just a center 4. Very dead centers. Diamond circulate. Good. All the boys run around the girls. Everybody move along, make lines. Now, what we told you about earlier, look at the corner of the hall that you're looking at. Make a line looking at a wall. Yeah, that's good. So, what happened was somebody needed to assert some leadership in the square, which is something you need to point out to the dancers. No. You're everything. You're the paying customers. So you realize that by asking them to reorient to the line of 4, that somebody needed to assert themselves in the square to form that formation that makes it much easier to dance in. I mean, look, if we had stayed in that line and tried to do load the boat and other things, they would have gone down the tubes quickly. Or ask them to orient it in the line of 4, and suddenly it's a very easily accessible call and a destination. So circulate 1.5 and doing different. Ready to go? Well, let's go ahead and do something here. Everybody, all 8 circulate, and the ends go halfway more. It gets strange. Well, what's the halfway point? That's when you're passing in right shoulders, because your next circulate would have taken you to the other end of the line, and therefore there's the halfway point. Good. Center 4 people, chase right. The outsides cast off 3. And suddenly, we're in a right-handed column. That's a good. So we got a lot of things we can do with just that little bit of circulate pattern. And it does different things with the calls, makes lots of formations available. And plus, you notice that there was a dynamic to what I was doing here. Since I had known what that combination gives me, it gave me a box and gave me outside wings. And so I was prepared to deal with the box in the middle and the wings on the outside. And I never let you stop out there. I kept the dancing up. Even though I was doing different things to different people, it still was a dynamic. It still was dancing and flowing, even though we were doing lots of different things. We weren't all just getting one call to do. Boys run right, and we're back in the normal HA through times. Excuse me. So, no, I'm fine. Just every once in a while I need to breathe. I keep forgetting to do that. But what happens many times, that shows you how circulates can be something to add variety to the setup. But part of it is also knowing what happens after a given call. Basically, everybody step to a wave. There are 3 types of ocean waves. There are the ocean waves which has one sex on the end, one sex in the middle, like we have right now. Everybody hinge. And we have ocean waves that have one sex facing in and one sex facing out. Centers trade. And we have ocean waves that have the same sex together. Those are the three options. Now, we could have ocean waves where the boys were the end facing out in the adjacent center and so forth. That's not what he's talking about. He's just talking about those three classifications. Those are the three type of waves. Usually what happens is, in applying any call to it, there's a relationship between all these waves. Everybody do a spin chain through. Left 3/4, center guy trade, and left 3/4. Yes, that's the spin chain through that we know from basics, right? You notice what happened to the waves? It's changed from same-sex wave to one sex facing in, one sex facing out. Okay? That's the relationship in spin chain through. Spin chain through takes a same-sex wave and turns it into a wave when one sex facing in, one sex facing out. Everybody do a single hinge. If we do a spin chain through from here, it takes our wave with one sex in the middle and puts that sex on the outside and vice versa. So that's the effect it has on here. If I call spin chain through from here, I don't need to see what they give me at the end. I know what my destination is. And so it leaves me free to work with the call as opposed to waiting to see what happens to me after I'm done. And that's the kind of thing you need to prepare for in doing any of the calls, is seeing what they do to the different setups. Now, what happens is basically any call that does a 90-degree change goes through all three reflections of it in the course of it. We're going to teach you a call called quarter through. It's an advanced call, okay? Quarter through is you hinge in the center's trade. So let's do that, hinge in the center's trade, okay? Now, what happened? It took a wave with one sex in the middle, one sex on the outside, changed it into a same-sex wave. Do a quarter through. And it took our same-sex wave and made it into a wave with the one sex facing in, one sex facing out. That's any call that tends to do that, that turns you 90 degrees, tends to take you through all three aspects, one right after the other, And all you have to do is see what order they tend to come with each other. Do another quarter through, and you'll notice that now we have the boys back in the middle and the girls back on the end from whence we started. You also notice that it's zeroed at that point in time. Well, what happens is that quarter through is something that puts you through that process of going from one aspect to the next aspect to the next aspect. Calls that don't change the shape of the matrix, because you notice the quarter through was a shape changer. It turns the axis. Calls that don't do that tend to have reflections of it'll do one and make it into the other, but it won't hit all three different spots. Okay? So that's the type of thing that happens when you apply calls. And that's the type of thing that you need to do to be able to utilize those calls as a tool to get from one spot to the next spot. We're not talking so much as resolving as why you're moving people to get them arranged in different ways to take advantage of that. Okay? Watch what happens. Let's do this. Everybody do a quarter through, like we talked about doing before. Well, remember what Tim talked about? Tim said that he would have used a quarter, if he had been calling the advanced dance when he was doing rotary spin, he would have called the quarter through and the recycle to put the same sex together. And that's just what I did here, the quarter through, and then now everybody recycle. And you notice that put us with the boys on the outside and the girls in the middle like he wanted to arrange. Okay? So that's because he knew that if he did the quarter through from that one type of wave, then it gave me that same sex together, and I could do the next call to lead me where I wanted to be to workshop. And so that's utilizing the tools. Now, you're not utilizing them to resolve. You're utilizing them to set up, to teach, to put arrangements of dancers together to be able to function. Okay? That's a whole different issue, and that's the 90% of the iceberg that sight calling really is. It's not resolving. It's arranging dancers in formations where you can give them the greatest success. Resolving is a whole different issue. Everybody touch quarter. Boys trade. Boys run around the girls. Bend to your line. Past the ocean. Now, yeah. Bilingual, you know. Let's see. You're dancing with grace, right? Okay. So basically at this point in time for resolving, I have all guys in different places and girls and so forth. And so basically I've got two of each that I would normally be keying off of, and I got two that are not. So if I want to send somebody over to the other side, Any call that trades somebody over to the other group of 4 is a useful call in resolving. Now, what happens is in so many beginning calling techniques of arranging site resolve, we ask people that we start circulating people. We'll circulate one group, like we circulate the boys here, and that would bring 2 fellows across. But what happens is that since you start to fall into the same pattern of resolving, you end up, people know when you're starting to resolve. They can start to anticipate on you. They don't get the surprise effect that you can have in entertaining the dancer that way. So what you need to do is be able to disguise how you're maneuvering people. One call that takes people from the other side, that maneuvers people usefully, is spin chain through. It's really an underutilized call. Watch what happens. Spin chain through. Half right, left 3/4, center guy trade, and left 3/4, and dear, turn back around. We didn't do anything with you. That's good. Now, look what happened to 2 of the guys. They went across the square, okay? 3 people stayed on the same side of the square as they were on before, but 2 guys went across. And so now I'm in a situation where I've got a fairly decent combination to go ahead and resolve with. And so that was useful for maneuvering across. Did you notice what happens? Is the guy on the end facing in maneuvered across the square. And now I got him in this group of 4 as opposed to that group of 4. I now have a corner combination that I can be pretty much available with. Boys run around the girls. Bend the line. In fact, I think I've got partners together. Pass the ocean. Well, I will in a second. Swing through. Yeah, see? As long as I had you in the same grouping of 4, I've got you in contact. I've got it licked at this point. You know, I don't need to search around or anything else at that point. And so I maneuvered the 2 people across. Got the corners here. Boys run around the girls. Yeah, you're in sequence. Partner trade. Half a couple circulate. Bend the line and you're home. Yep. See? So what happened was that I brought the 2 across that I needed to, and I did it out of an ocean wave, and I didn't do it by making people stand still. I didn't use peculiar calls or anything else. There was no pattern there that was discernible. And there's lots of other calls that you don't think of that do the same thing. Heads, lead to the right. Don't get grabby, just lead to the right. Slide through. Touch a quarter. Now, as long as I got these group of 4 together, then I'm in contact and that type of thing. My interest is, well, I would like to maneuver somebody else over to the other group of 4. All 8 circulate. And suddenly 2 girls went across the center line. Anything that maneuvers people across the center line of the square suddenly can be used in resolve patterns, because you can maneuver dancers, and nobody knows that you're searching for corner at that point in time. You utilize a different formation to resolve with, other than the standard old practice of, well, I'm going to maneuver people around and get them into lines and pass through and wheel and deal and make decisions like that. You don't have to spend days doing crises resolve because everybody's standing around waiting for something to happen. You can use formations you normally call out of and use them to resolve squares with. Boys run right around the girls. Pass the ocean. Grand swing through. Watch the 2 girls. Went right across the center line of the square. I just maneuvered 2 of them. Boys run around the girls. The new call that got added to the plus list, triple trade. Watch the 2 center guys. They went across the square. I got lots of things to use, that will maneuver people across. And so, and I'm sending them 2 at a time. That is even better from my point of view, I mean, you're under the gun behind the microphone. You want to resolve. You want to sort things out. By maneuvering people in groups of 2, you got a better chance of sorting things out, and they're more identifiable that way. I've maneuvered them across, but I've picked the 2 that I want. And if I didn't like those 2, then I can set up another 2. To whatever degree that I need to do it. Each line, bend the line. No, each was the magic word. That's good. Yeah. Each. There you go. Good. And so what have I got at this point in time? Well, I got this gentleman across the square that needed to send over to his partner. All right. Good. Pass the ocean. Center boys trade, and he's across where I need him. And now I've got the group of 4 that I need to do here. Girls trade. Recycle. I got a nice line of 4. And actually circle to the right till you get back home. Yeah, right was hopefully a nearer destination than left, but you know, I'll take what I can get. But did you notice that, okay, I said circle right as a resolve till you get back home, okay? Well, the people that didn't have a great deal of success with it still had a good time out of it. But it was a different resolve, certainly, than the old diameter square 33, and it wasn't any more inaccessible than doing the circle and getting them back to someplace. So you really want to look at choreography in actually a threefold purpose. It is what you can do by applying your imagination to the calls to see what new formations you can derive from fooling with it, from adding a circulate, from doing it left-handed, from arranging that way. You can also then use the choreography as a tool to arrange dancers in different formations so that you can give them more success. And finally, you use the calls to resolve the dancers. But that's really the most minor point of sight calling, is maneuvering with them to resolve. It's more maneuvering with them to find places to go with them and to improve their success. And that's the major part of sight calling. And that's what leaves you free by being able to sight call. But it also means that you have to provide yourself with a lot of work in analyzing what an individual call does in any given situation. And so you do know that certain combinations will appear when you apply it here, and you're not waiting to see what the dancers do in order to figure out where you're at. And so that's the real key here. Do we have any questions or suggestions, ideas? While we got the square up, or we can let them sit down. Yeah, and split circulate also has the advantage that it isolates boxes of four. All the heads step in the middle, face your corner. Okay? Touch a quarter. If you don't, I mean, from a practical mercenary point of view, if I got a square where half of it's having trouble, certainly split circulate at least lets me keep the trouble isolated, and I can work the formation of four that I feel most comfortable with. Split circulate. And notice what the split circulate did, right? It took us from one sex facing and one sex facing out to a sex situation, but it's a different sex facing in and facing out, okay? Boys run right around the girls. So it's pretty neutral in how I handled it here. It just rearranged the sex formation, past the ocean, okay? But watch what happens when we do it from here. Split circulate. Suddenly, normal waves became same-sex waves. Split circulate. Suddenly, same-sex waves became normal waves. So there's the key relationship within that call. It's different than what the spin chain through was. Spin chain through took a standard wave and just rearranged the sex arrangement in it. When we applied it to a same-sex wave, it took us to one sex facing out, one sex facing in, and vice versa. Split circulate has that habit in this type of setup, where we've got a standard wave, takes it to a same-sex wave, vice versa again. It doesn't have any effect on the setup the other way. Okay, so that's something now you know about it. If I needed to say, boy, I got to start this call from same sex together, everybody split circulate. Very efficiently, I've got the same sex together where I can identify things now. Okay, explode the wave. That's good. Wheel and deal, and so we got the boys in the middle. And so, you know, suddenly I'm able to do things. Now, you know, it's also, you know, establishing you need to go back and analyze what you think is most difficult about a call to achieve dancer success. I double pass through. I feel that where we start to lose the call peel off is on identifying who is doing what part and what our final destination is going to be. I don't think the setup to begin with is the most vital thing. So therefore, I set it up so I can identify sex. See, if I do the peel off from here, the boys will end up at the end of the line, the girls will end up at the center of the line, and I can help sort out that line when I'm done. Everybody peel off. And so we got a line facing in, girls are in the middle, boys are on the end, that type of thing. Now, that's a very heavy-duty clue. I didn't really cue it all the way through, but at the same time, I was very heavily cluing where you were at the conclusion of the call. You know, depending upon how I saw the result of the floor's dancing it was, I might have given a clue like, well, the boys are on the end now. Or more importantly, what I might have done is the girls in the middle square through 4. Boys face in. Well, right away, by going through that long paragraph, the girls in the middle square through, I could have just said girls square through 4, but that wasn't as specific a clue and didn't allow any recovery time. By saying the girls in the middle square through 4, if they didn't have all the girls in there, they might have been able to recover sufficiently enough to get the girls in there to do the square through 4. That 90% of the mistakes that get made are made because two people have changed spots, and usually it's one sex to the other. So what happens many times is the way to correct that is isolate one group of sex of 4 in the middle, and then to fix it, they can pretty much in their own offices trade the right guy into the middle or the girl into the middle and the boy to the outside and repair things rather quickly. That is 90% of where the mistakes occur. And you can do something to rectify by simply isolating the whole group of 4 in the middle, and that way they can fix themselves. And what you've done then, again, is you haven't deserted, you haven't put the square in the category of pulling the plug. You've take them and put them in the middle, the ones that have survived with your help. And you've increased the size of that group. It works well. Star through. Boys trade. Leads wheel around. Leads wheel around. Who are the leads? It's the ones facing out. If they wheel around, it's like when they promenade. And when you wheel around, it's right in footprint. Now, that would have been really smooth if we had known what we were doing. Now, but did you notice how hard I made that? The reason that was hard because I used a term like leads, which is not a very identifiable term, particularly for plus and mainstream dancers. And so if I had said out facers wheel around, I might have stood a better chance. If I had had boys facing out, I would have started a far better chance. Chances are I wouldn't have stood that good a chance overall simply because you're not used to doing wheel arounds from there. But there's a plain old mainstream call that suddenly can get very, very positional. And what's more is it really does dance well once you know how to do it. And it becomes very, very smooth. And it's a nice couple action. And notice what happened when we did that. I had the leads wheel around. When the guy went to the left there, that girl had a nice leading action. 2 ladies chain. See? That flow would have sent it right in there. Send her back Dixie style to a wave. Swing through starts with the right and then into the left, which is where the next flow is on the call. Girls hinge. Notice how we've had nice alternation of hands and so forth as we did all that. And so all of that, provides a lot of different dance flow and movement, and we haven't really used anything that is really out of the scope of their dancing ability. It's whether we've given them the experience of going through that type of stuff. But also realize that when I was doing all of this, that I was having girls lead, we did Dixie style, we identified a lot by sex, we didn't use centers and ends. And all those artificial terms are the ones that make it hard for them to go ahead and dance. I don't know if any of you have called for the gay groups around here. That's one of the interesting things when you call for one of their groups is that the one variable that's not a variable to us is a variable to them, and that is boys and girls. It's that when you identify the 4 girls, is that none of them are naturally girls, and so suddenly they've got to figure that out, go through the same identification process that you guys had to do with leads and trailers. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, you do. Yeah, it's the adjustment is for them. It's not for you calling. It's very natural. So, no, you girl. Yeah, in the course of their teaches and stuff, they usually use the term leader and follower, and that's how they identify the boys' position, the girls' position. But in the normal course of dancing at all kinds of dance events, they have to compensate. If they're dancing the girl spot, they're the girl. Okay, but you see, suddenly that's no longer a rallying point for them. I have to change my calling approach when I work for them because just by saying the 4 girls in the middle may not be a point where they can rally, and I have to figure out another strategy to approach with them. So it's an interesting variable that isn't normally a variable for us but can be there. But there's also plenty of senior citizen groups where the women outnumber the men. Teen groups, you see lots and lots of girls there, so it's not just a problem unique to them, and if you get into special areas of calling, you have to find ways of compensating for it, okay? One of the interesting ways of compensating for it is, let's see, let the girls cast right 3/4. Okay? Good. Now, let's say, go ahead, take a peek and trade the wave. Okay? Let's say that you're in this kind of situation with one of these unique type groups where either you've got lots and lots of singles and you had forced to having women together, you've got teens where you got a lot of girls, and suddenly this looks a lot closer than the other one. Everybody cast off 3/4. Scoot back. Yeah, you see, they had to start looking and groping for each other. And did you notice that they shrunk it a little bit as they did the scoot back and then brought it back together? So what you had to be prepared for in doing that scoot back after the fan the top that we did, boys run around the girls. Bend the line. Pass through. You turn back. Box the net. Fan the top to the box of 4 for the grouping to work the call, and that's coming out of working something where they're working with this group. Now they had to reorient to come this way. So they may lose it on the scoot back, even though it's a simple call they normally have a lot of success with. Suddenly the choreography that preceded it didn't lend itself for as great a success. There's nothing wrong with it, and it can be good variety in doing the commands and doesn't leave you off much. I mean, all you've done is swung half. Okay? And to get a swing through equivalent and have the guys trade, boys trade.